in doTERRA, we have everywhere, we have it all over in our guides and our systems, your action plus your belief equals your results. So when you're starting to look at the gap, you're just going to go back to your guide and you're going to figure out where you're at. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you is you might not start at the diamond one. If you're not hitting diamond by the 20th, go back to the platinum. And if you're not hitting platinum by the 20th, go back to the gold. Do you understand what I'm saying? And ask yourself, is there a breakdown somewhere in my belief level? Do I need to go back? Did my belief in the company and the opportunity to get shattered because I've been going on and on and on and on, and I still haven't broken through to the income levels? That can destroy your belief in your opportunity. The company and the opportunity means that you are aligned with that you can actually make money in this. And if you feel disgruntled in that, go back and work on that belief. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to go through this with diamond. So this is right from the multiply guide. So the belief is in your why. If you need to sustain, like maintain and sustain and be really, really solid. And I'm going to tell you guys right here, right now, stop always going for rank. And it is a false idol. Okay. I love rank. I love what it does, but rank can also turn into this like kryptonite that cripples us and makes us lose focus. Okay. So don't always look at rank, look at these beliefs and these actions. Go and look at what is your belief in your why. Do you know why you're doing this? When I was going to diamond, I knew why I was doing it. I was doing it to get my husband out of a corporate career. Okay. My action, how am I going to do the action items, right? We're going to lead by strengths, plan strategically, enroll and invite builders. It's all part of the guide. And the results are you're going to be able to get to diamond. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Let's go. Okay. Belief in our influence. This is where we're going to blue diamond. Okay. So in our influence, do we believe that we're influencers, that what we say has the ability to just magnify out, that thousands and thousands of people can be affected by the work that we are here to do? Does that humble you or does it scare you? Get in alignment with our belief for blue diamond. Now we're going to go to the next slide. We're about ready to wrap up. Okay. So step number 4 is you're going to go create a vision to fill the gap. You're going to figure out your plan to fill the gap. Do you need to do some more belief work? Do you need to go back to your why? There are so many resources out there. I'm not here to tell you, like, this isn't about a why activity or a mission activity or the things. That's going to be very, very individual for you. But I want you to cast a vision for where you want to go, and I want you to hold on to it. I want you to appreciate and show gratitude for where you are right now. If you're feeling disgruntled and you are feeling defeated in where you are right now, I want you to show like, oh my gosh, I have a leader that doesn't want to build this business anymore. I am just going to show so much gratitude for her, because when I needed a leader for that position, she said yes, and she has never stopped placing 100 PV order. And she's still willing to continue to place a PV order, even if she's not my leader. Create a gratitude journal, show appreciation, love on your team, send light to your team for where they are at, even if they're not where you want to be, where you want them to be. Love them for where they are. Then my next big nugget, my challenge for you is, after you've done this exercise, go do this exercise for every single one of your leaders. The people, especially that are your qualifiers, get real with where you're at, because maybe you need a leader to show up. Maybe you're ready for a leader. Okay. Use the guides and other leaders to get clear with this exercise. There are crazy amounts of resources. I think we're going to dive in a lot to the new business builder guide. There's all these systems. Everybody does something different. So I'm not here to say, and everybody has a different way of doing things, but hold on to your visions. You can do this. There is always a gap from where you want to be to where you want to go. And to get real with your gap, to find out where you're at and where you want to go and learn how to fill this gap, you will never go back. Okay. use this exercise. Like I said, you can do it at the beginning of every week. You can have a monthly version of it. You can have a quarterly version and have so much fun with it. So let's go. We're going to end it with a quote because I love quotes. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. You are all amazing. Amazing. You would not be in this space, on this call, at this moment, if you were not meant to be here. If you were not meant to continue this journey, you would not be here. doTERRA is a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. So now let's figure out how to get our vehicle to jump that gap, to jump the big boulder and get to the other side so that we can continue to serve the thousands and thousands of people that are out there waiting for the hope and the wisdom and the light that we have to share with them. Thank you, everyone. So fun presenting with you. And this beautiful, beautiful lineup. I'm excited to continue on what's going on at Leadership. And I wish nothing more for all of you than to find your why, to find your message, your mission, and your purpose, and get aligned. And we've got some oils that help with that. It's called Align.
Awesome, Katie. Thank you so much. Again, this is another presentation that we wish that we could give you hours, right? And everyone feels the exact same way. Following the chat, I would invite you, Katie, to go through the messages and read every single message of everyone saying thank you and you know, everything that they've learned through your presentation. So again, thank you so much. I can't wait to be able to do an in-person event with you and seeing everyone just come up to you and ask you a bunch of questions, because this is great content. So thank you so much. Thank you for the time that you put into preparing this presentation. And now, everyone, we would like to give you 2 to 3 minutes for you to stand up, stretch, use the restroom, grab a cup of water before we go into our panel. So again, 3 minutes, in exactly 3 minutes, we're gonna be starting. So do whatever you need to do and we'll be right back.
Welcome, panelists, and to everyone else that's taking a quick break. You have about another minute or so to get your stretch in, to take any last-minute notes on the things that you've been able to learn and internalize, and to gear up for the next half of an incredible lineup. So as you're taking some time to get back and to regroup, I just wanted to say it is such a miracle that we have the ability to connect in this way. And to have 350 people on this particular platform, all being able to commune and benefit from one another. I think it's miraculous. It really is. And yes, ideally, we wish we could be in person, but look at the blessing we have here to still be able to glean, receive, collaborate, and bless. I love watching the chat. As Juan said, as the presentations have been going on, the chat is alive. and doing well. You all have been sharing great insight, asking questions, collaborating, and helping each other out there, as the presenters have done such an eloquent and powerful job at helping us receive such great gems of wisdom. So to get us started for right now, I am thrilled to introduce this lineup that we have here for our panel discussion that will go for about 20 minutes or so. One of my favorite quotes, Katie said she loves quotes, well, so do I. One of my favorite quotes of all time is 5 words long. Inspiration is scattered among us. If that hasn't been evident today, I don't know what would make it evident. I mean, there's been so many pieces of inspiration coming from all over the place on this particular Zoom call. And we have the blessing and benefit now to be so inspired by these 4 beautiful women. I've had the blessing to learn from them, to be inspired by them, and to be given some great insight myself as we've met one-off in preparation for this call. So let me just take a moment to introduce each of them briefly. We have with us here presidential leader Betty Torres from San Antonio, Texas. She represents all those in Texas who have been going through their fair share of opposition recently. And look, she's doing a lot. She's alive and well, even though she's had some issues with plumbing and piping and breaks and bursts. She's here. She's here for you. And I think you're going to be in for a treat as well. We also have Stephanie Martin, presidential leader from Covington, Pennsylvania, here to join us. As she has her screen blacked out, she doesn't have the best reception from her home, so she's able to make the commute for you as well, find a place in her car, I believe, in her vehicle, again, just for you. We also have Blue Diamond leader Michelle Cannon from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm excited for you to hear from Michelle. She has built much, if not most, of her business online and has some great tips and insight for you in that regard. And last but definitely not least, we have our solid diamond leader, Kristen Tiggs. Kristen is a blessing to have on this panel. I think to be able to have someone of the diamond rank to represent you as diamonds who are on this call, to help you hear from someone in your seat, but also to understand what they're doing, I think is a gift. So as we're moving forward, the topic for this panel discussion is celebrating your team in all the right ways. Yes, there are a myriad of ways to celebrate, to recognize, to build momentum, and to boost. You're about to hear some top tips, tricks, and strategies from these 4 here on this topic. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And actually, let's start with you, Betty, if that's okay. So Betty, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes, if that's all right, to respond to the question, why is recognition so integral to growing successful teams and leaders? Betty.
Thanks, Jake. Well, I believe that recognition is super, super important for a number of different reasons. And one of the reasons is it makes you feel so good when you're being recognized, when you're being acknowledged and you feel significant. Now, some people, they're like, you know what, I really don't need recognition. It's not important to me. But I just have to just express that I believe that recognition is actually probably more important for the people watching rather than the person being recognized. Okay, so there's nothing like seeing somebody that be recognized. And then also when you watch like new people being recognized, you start to think, gosh, maybe this is possible. Maybe I can do this too. And in addition to recognizing big steps, like some of the rank advancements, it's super important to recognize the small steps along the way. Things like Product of the Month Club, or the $50 3x3, or bringing a guest to a class, because those small steps, they can provide a blueprint for people to follow. And they start to connect dots, and they'll see that somebody's recognized for a rank advancement, and they're like, wait a minute, I recognize that name, I recognize that person. And they realize they recognize that name because that person's been recognized along the way for those small action steps. And so people start putting 2 and 2 together, and they're like, well, maybe if I take these steps, I can also, get to where I want to go.
I love that. That is beautiful insight. And Betty, maybe just a follow-up question. Do you have any other nuggets you're willing to share with us on other ways or suggestions you have to successfully celebrate?
Yes. Okay. One of my favorite ways to celebrate people is to recognize people who bring guests to events. And that is, like a sure way to produce a result in your business. But also, it helps the event be more energized. You're just going to have a better event, more energy, more people. The presenter is going to be better. And so you can recognize people on both online events and in-person events. For the online events, I ask the guests to text me during the class, and they text me their name and the name of the person who invited them. And then at the end of the class, we have a drawing and I read off those names. So that's like a form of recognition. I read off those names. We have a drawing for a really cool, doTERRA prize. Another way to recognize people for guests is to, in effect, have people hosting a class within a class. So if someone brings, let's say 6 guests, or it could be 4 or 5, whatever, but for my classes, usually it's if you invite and if you host 6 people in the class, you get a host. And that gift is like a doTERRA diffuser, which is a really, really awesome gift. If it's a live class, when we were doing live classes, I would, at the end of the class, I would invite the people who had hosted at least one guest that evening to come to the front. And I would just publicly thank them so much for changing the world by empowering people through education. And then I would give them a little gift, like something that would help support their business, like a keychain, or it could be like a DVD or something like that. We would then take a picture and post it on the Facebook group for recognition. And I do want to say that the person who hosts the 6 people in the class, the class within a class, I always contact them afterwards. I just, express such gratitude and congratulate them. And then I ask them to give me a nice picture of themselves and a little write-up, like their doTERRA story. And then we also then post that on our Facebook group to recognize them. And then it kind of gives people idea, well, maybe that's what I should be doing in my business, is bringing people to the events.
I love that. Thank you so much, Betty. And it just makes me realize, I think sometimes maybe recognition and celebration might not get as much stage time as other things that we do, but to recognize I'm learning equals to show value and that you care. And when people feel valued, especially during a time of disconnection and loneliness, that is a great formula for movement, momentum, and desire to take a step forward into the darkness, like many have said already on this call. So similar, I guess, same question, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Same question to you. So what are some of the ways you've been able to successfully celebrate and or recognize your leaders?
Yeah, I love what you said, because that was going to be the first thing I'd share. Is I think the most powerful recognition comes from a place of truly seeing people, especially when we're talking about our leaders. And this last year, with all the disconnection that's happened, everything being online, that's taken extra intentionality from me. And so some of the things that I've done have been things like sending like just a little text to check in. I'm from Texas too. So when things are going on, checking in with people, seeing how they're doing. And then on strategy calls, really being intentional to ask questions and really care about what's going on in their life, not just in their business. And third, this is something little, but every year we send out this fun inspirational print at the beginning of the year that really can inspire people. And it's just something little, a surprise in the mail. So the second thing I would say is help your leaders acknowledge where they're winning. And sometimes you might have to dig or be creative with this, but for instance, looking at who was the top enrollers over the course of a year, leaders don't track those sort of things. And so it's fun to help them see the numbers over the course of the whole year. And then also not just back office wins, but ways that they're serving, ways that like you see them in action can be really inspiring and help them see where they're winning, because we all always want more. So it's hard for us to slow down and see where we're winning. And getting cross-line involved is always really powerful, of course. And then the third thing that I would say is, I know it's different all over the world. It's different what we're able to do in person or not. But I would just say when you can do something in person, I really encourage you to do it, because a lot of my team, they're from the Midwest, from South Dakota. And so we did an in-person convention viewing and we got to do some celebratory meals together. And then we brought in people to do hair, makeup, and headshots. And we did it for everybody. And it was some of like the most special moments, and people still talk about that all the time. So it was a really fun way to celebrate people in the midst of everything that's going on.
Wonderful. I love that. Thank you both so much for your comments. I'd love to turn the next question over to Michelle and Stephanie in that order, if that's okay. And ladies, if you could each take about 60 seconds in your responses, that would be great. The question is, we just heard from Kristen on, if we can make it happen in person, let's do it. That's ideal. But what if we can't? So for Michelle first, any tips on how to connect with your team when you're not in person?
Yeah, so first of all, hi everybody, it's good to be here. And yeah, don't forget that connecting in person is a wonderful tool. We don't want to stop doing that because it is amazing. But we also have this other resource of online connecting. And with building my whole business, I'm the majority of it online. It's something that I've gotten really comfortable with, but it's new for a lot of people. And so when we talk about that, I think just pulling out, what kind of events can you do that you can get creative online? I'm going to give you 2 good tips that you can do that can help kind of create that unity within your team. I don't know if you guys have like group chats where you can pull in all your builders, where you have inspiration and you're messaging through there. But I am such a big fan of like group FaceTime chats, pulling in certain people or ranks and having, celebrations within those ranks. Like how can you be together face to face but not, right? And so this is where we have to get creative. And so we did a really fun thing with when we didn't have convention. I was like, okay, I know how to do this online stuff, so we got to get really, really, clear on how we're going to celebrate convention. And we all got on after we watched convention. We all had an after party, and we all came in our pajamas. We had a dance party at the beginning. I turned on the music, started dancing in my Christmas outfit, and you guys, we just need to open up just a little bit and see that we can still have so much fun, even if we're like awkwardly dancing alone in our room, right? With everybody on the screen. And then we had fun giveaways. Like, what did you love about convention? What were your favorite takeaways? Here's a fun question and answer. We all came up with questions that we wanted to ask people. I just say, if you can get face to face and not be afraid to do it, it feels the second most to being in person together. Like, I feel like I'm with these 4 girls right now, and I haven't been with them in a while if I didn't see you at the diamond retreat, right? So what can you do to be creative, but show your face and they show theirs and you get comfortable within that?
Love that. Thank you, Michelle. And just as a one-off, something I remember Michelle mentioning to me as I was chatting with her offline was she's even used social media and virtual platforms as a way to not just connect to build business, but to connect to build relationships with her teams. And she talked about how, I think it was her daughter or her child would get online with one of her leaders' children, and they would just build relationships that way. So the beauty of virtual opportunity is that it provides a means. What are we doing to make it happen? I love it. Thanks, Michelle. Stephanie, same question. So any tips on how to connect when you're not in person?
So first of all, sorry about the rain on the roof. I'm sure you guys can hear it. It's coming down. So if you can't hear me, that's why. So if you all know me, you know I'm an offline girl, and I've taught probably close to 1,000 in-home classes over the last 7 years. And I've been in almost 1,000 living rooms, building and solidifying Presidential Diamond. Now, back in March, when I decided to pivot in my business and I knew I needed to move online, even if it was only for a short period of time, that's when I really started doing online Facebook classes that you can listen to tomorrow during my breakout session. But honestly, I feel like now more than ever, everyone needs community. Like, people are craving human connection in every way, shape, and form. And like many of my teams right now, across the US, they're gathering in smaller groups doing these watch parties and watching leadership here with us now. So you can obviously connect with your team, via Zoom or FaceTime or team calls or texting services such as Broadcast, CC, for builders, that are engaged or whatever it might be. But I feel like there's nothing that's going to really replace that in-person connection. Like, my retention rate, because myself and my incredible team has done everything knee to knee, belly to belly, it's phenomenal, like even throughout this pandemic. So this year, I think as things start to open up more and more, don't allow the fear of what's going on in the world to dictate what you do with your business. Life goes on, and I feel like we have to keep on moving forward.
Love it. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Faith over fear triumphs all the time. And I love that last closing thought from you. So I want to move into a question that I think definitely has come up a lot in conversation so far. Sorry, let me try to, there we go. I think there was somebody that might have been accidentally unmuted. A topic of discussion is paralysis, right? 2020 has caused a lot of different learning curves and curveballs and all sorts of types of situations, and has sometimes resulted in people getting stuck, feeling stuck, having difficulty knowing how to move forward and build their business effectively, how to pivot. The question I want to pose to Kristen, Betty, and Stephanie, each of you, if you could take a minute each on this one, is what do you do in that situation to continue moving forward? Either to rekindle those that have burnt out, or maybe to maybe find another pathway forward to help again bring vitality and growth into your teams and businesses. So let's go ahead and start with Kristen first on that one.
Yeah, of course. So the first thing that I would say is to really, again, see your leaders, partner with them, get in their life with them, and provide a safe space for them to be honest with what's going on in their life, like what's causing the paralysis, the stuckness, so you can see life through their eyes and potentially support them and help them in that. And then the second piece that I would say is to really take ownership of your own goals and be honest with yourself, because you're going to realize when you get to a time where it's time to not necessarily, well, really pull back from your leaders a little bit and give them space for the breakthrough that they need, and look yourself for the leader that you need to get to your goal. And I think the thing that was the most encouraging for me personally in this is that it doesn't have to look the same way it was the way you built to diamond in the first place. We actually recently had new leaders that got to silver within 3 months. And so that was not something I had experienced prior to this. And that was really encouraging to me to remember that I've grown a lot, and my ability to help new leaders move forward really quickly can look different than it did the first time. And I think that growth can inspire the rest of the leaders on your team to see what's working and what's creating momentum, so they can try new things and get past that stuck energy.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kristen. Betty, same question.
Okay, for me, it's events. Just get together with other people that have a positive attitude and are moving in the same direction as you. So go to that event. That's like the antidote to paralysis. And I always think of what Justin Harrison teaches about marathon runners. He says that the best marathon runners never pass up an aid station. Like, they might not need the water right now, but they'll need it down the road. They won't have it then. So never pass up an event, an opportunity to refuel, re-energize. You might not need it now, but down the road, you just might. Also, sometimes people are like, well, if I don't have a guest or if I don't have a team member, I'm not going to go to the event. Well, it is better to go to the event with, a guest and team members. But if you don't, you especially need it. You need to get there, help the event be a better event with your presence, with your energy, and then just also keep yourself like in a state of being completely fueled up all the time, because you never know when you're going to need it.
Love it. Thanks, Betty. Stephanie, same question.
So honestly, my answer to this might be completely opposite of what one might suggest. Oh man, because I get this question all the time. People, they'll come to me and they'll say, Stephanie, what do I do? How do I get my builders to work who are no longer working, right? And to be completely honest with you all, you might not. Like, they might forever be stuck in fear, stuck in doubt, stuck in whatever muck they're in. But I need you guys to stop thinking that your builder is the only key to furthering your business. And for the love, this is the only analogy I can think of right now, but stop trying to do chest compressions on a corpse like they're dead and not building their business for a reason. So go find someone who's alive, who's breathing, and ready to run this race of life with you, not against you. The only way to build your business is to enroll more people. It's really not rocket science. You need some motivation, go enroll someone. You need some more volume, go enroll someone. You need some more builders, go enroll someone. You need to hit a new rank, go enroll someone, right? Like Betty Torres said to me, she said to me 5 years ago when I was a new diamond and we were laying on the beach together and I just won the incentive trip. She said, Stephanie, the answer to every single one of your problems in doTERRA has always been and will always be to go enroll someone.
Love it. Beautiful thoughts, beautiful comments. We have 2 more questions to go. Not much time left. Michelle, I'm going to direct this question to you. If you don't mind just being succinct on this one, maybe 30 to 60 seconds max. What role does recognition play in helping someone get from diamond to blue diamond?
Okay, so recognition to rank advance. I'm going to give you guys a quick tip. We are focused on strengths, right? We've learned so much about strengths. They're so helpful. You need to understand yours. You need to understand your leaders. But there's one missing piece that I see often, whether you're going from diamond to blue, blue to presidential, I mean, whatever rank it is, trying to get back to solid diamond. On top of strengths, you need to understand your individual leaders or your qualifiers, or maybe their qualifiers even. What is their love language? Because recognition looks different on every single person. And recognition isn't always based off of strengths, you guys. Recognition is based off of how somebody feels loved, valued, and appreciated. And if you look at the way you and your spouse or you and your best friend or whatever, you guys feel loved differently and you feel appreciated differently. So if you want to make this jump to your next rank, recognition will pull a huge part in it, because in order to get to that next rank, your personal qualifiers and your leaders that help move to that next position with you, they need to be loved in a way that inspires them to continue to want to grow their business. So figure those things out. There's my 30 seconds for you.
Thank you so much. Y'all are amazing. Thank you, Michelle. And last question to Stephanie. Can you give us a snapshot view of what recognition and or celebration looks like for you and your team, whether that's on a day-to-day basis or just give us like a cycle idea of what that looks like?
So I feel like recognition is such a vital part of leadership, because it's kind of telling your team or like an individual, I see you and I appreciate you. And being seen like in the chaos and hustle bustle of today's world, it just feels good, right? So ways that I recognize my team while growing to diamond and a blue diamond and a presidential diamond. So when someone hits rank at the end of the month, shouting them out, like not only on your builders page, but also on their personal Facebook page, so that other people who are not a part of doTERRA can see what they're up to. Maybe it's their friends and their family members who are kind of skeptical. It's a great way, I feel like, to kind of plant that seed. Then obviously like getting a handwritten note in the mail is one of like the least expensive yet like one of the most thoughtful and appreciative things that I feel like anyone can receive nowadays, especially when snail mail has kind of become like a thing of the past. And I've done this quite a few times where I just sit down and I write out a thoughtful card to someone who, you know, I think either needs like a word of encouragement or was working really hard and they need to be seen like in their efforts. And I obviously I do a top enrollers at the end of each month. And then at the beginning of the month. But something I started doing last year, which I think is really, really fun and I get a lot of great feedback from, is that I really like to recognize those people who are actively enrolling and building on my builders group page. So I offer a giveaway, a monthly giveaway. And last month, for example, you know, I give away 3 $100 Etsy gift cards. So for each enrollment that a person has, they're able to comment below, like on the post. So if they have 10 enrollments, they can comment 10 times. And every time they enroll someone throughout the month, they get to comment. So everyone can see who's enrolling and working, and it kind of creates a little bit of like healthy competition for that prize. You know, the more you enroll, the higher of a chance you get to possibly winning that prize. And I've given away all sorts of things like Yeti coolers, Nespresso machines, cash incentives, those big, beautiful like oil holders, Apple Watches, Kate Spade purses. Now, you certainly don't have to start out big. That this can really like be anything that you think your team would love. However, I feel like you're investing into your team, and when you're doing something like this, it will pay you forward and grow your business in the long run. And bonus, like it's a 100% tax write-off, so it's a win-win at the end of the day, right?
Love it. Ladies, you're incredible. Thank you so much for imparting your insight, inspiration, experience, and wisdom to us all. We appreciate you for being on this panel. I'm now going to take about a 60-second break to unspotlight everyone. I have to do that manually. And then I'm going to turn the time over to Juan to introduce our last 2 presenters for you for today. Thank you again so much, ladies.
Okay, thank you so much, Jake, and thank you to everyone that participated in the panel. It was amazing information. Lots of questions in the chat. Also, if you guys would love to jump in there and maybe answer a couple if you'd like, but just know that a lot of people are excited and ready to try every single thing that you guys share with them. So now we have another amazing speaker, another amazing presenter. I am really excited to hear from her, and I bet that all of you are as well. So with us, we have Elena Brower. Elena, how you doing?
Super well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I know that you were telling me as we were preparing for this presentation that there are times that you also have a hard time with like connection and everything. So super excited to have you here virtually and ready to learn from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to start by, first of all, just honoring the efforts of everyone during this time. This has not been an easy time for most of us, and every effort that you've made to grow your business, to remember how wonderful it is that doTERRA gives us for $100 or $150 a month, an entire back office. For every single connection that you have made, whether virtual or in reality, I just want to honor you for that. The question that we're going to ask with this is about building healthy, empowered relationships. That is the backbone of my personal business. And Juan, I would love for you to forward the slide. That's me. Double blue diamond only once. So really double diamond consistently to be accurate. And we can go ahead and go forward past this. Wonderful. Questions for you. What would you love to be the result of this short time together? So write that down. What do you hope to learn, to put into practice? What do you hope to gain? And secondly, what do you know about heart-based leadership already? Who do you know that practices it with some success? What do you feel it means for you? Is this something that you feel like you should or could be doing, or is this something that you feel like you already do? And finally, as you take a few notes, is anyone or anything somehow thwarting you from practicing heart-based leadership? It's an important consideration because you might feel obstructed in some way from this. And I hope by the end of this presentation, you won't. So take a moment just to write on these things. What would you love to be the result of our time together? What do you know about heart-based leadership already? Who do you know that practices it? Do you practice it? And finally, do you feel in any way obstructed from it? Next slide, please. Let's define heart-based leadership together. One, leading with integrity and empathy. These are two massive, huge human words. Integrity means my heart, my mind, my body, we're all moving in the same direction at once. My mind isn't thinking one thing while my body does another thing. Empathy, I'd like you to place your hand on your heart right now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Just place your hand on your heart and give yourself empathy for just a moment. Whatever this year has wrought, whatever your mood or focus or lack of focus, whatever you're going through right now, just give yourself a moment of empathy. Leave your hand there until you feel like it's been transmitted to yourself. Heart-based leadership looks like shared responsibility. I need to say this. I feel like I work for my team. They don't work for me. And I will bend over backwards, not to the point that I'm drained and losing sleep, but I will do a lot for my team. Helping your team feel seen and valued. I feel like the panel did such an incredible job of talking about this, so we needn't linger here for too long. I was speaking with Kylene in a private chat just now, and we were talking about how, I have one gal to whom I sent like a new dress. She's not even on Facebook. She doesn't need public recognition. And then there's another gal who actually lives for it. You are present and accessible if you're practicing heart-based leadership, meaning, and I really need you to be honest with yourself for a moment. You know, when that person calls you and it's a person that calls you a whole lot and they're asking you a question that you've already answered on 5 different videos, you still get to be nice. You don't have to be nice. You get to be nice. You get to feel the feeling that you have when you are nice past the point of you wanting to. And finally, you're teaching reciprocity by your own example. You're always giving what you're getting. So if you're getting great mentorship, if you're receiving great information, if you're reading an awesome book, can you just give it back? Can you keep the cycle going? There's a saying that points to the real leader is the person through whom the most gifts flow. I've talked about this, I think, with Avesa's team too. She's here right now. And think about that, through whom the most gifts flow. Next slide, please. Heart-based leadership means you really do listen to your intuition and you trust it. That means you probably have some sort of practice of self-empathy. It means you probably have some practice of meditation or movement, something that brings you inside often enough that you know exactly what your intuition is telling you in any given moment without question. You don't have to check in with somebody else and see, what do you think of this? No, you actually know. If you don't currently have a practice like that brings you to yourself a couple times a day, that is my invitation to you for heart-based leadership. Please feel free to reach out to me, info@elenabrower.com. Ask me anything. There are so many different practices that you can do to stay close to yourself here. You build trust in and with. Both of these words matter, your business partners. You trust them and you build trust with them. And what does that look like? I'll be sharing that a little bit later in this presentation, but you always, always lean into trusting other people the best that you can. You will be disappointed. We're humans. But at least you're leaning in that direction. The other direction is cancerous. The other direction is doubt, fear, lie. I don't get it. I don't trust it. Suspicious. All of that warps our cells. And we don't want that. You always take the time to connect first, and that may look like a text. It may look like some sort of phone call. It may look like an email. It may look like a little gift in the mail. There's some kind of connection that you're making with your team, especially when you have a team that is running low month over month. What can you do to reach out to that person or persons to help them feel your trust in them and their trust in you? Next slide, please. I think this is one of the most important aspects. You pivot quickly, and your pivoting really looks like, okay, it's the 3rd month in a row this hasn't been working out with this one particular leg. This isn't even a quick pivot. I have to pivot now. What am I needing to do? And it could be something really immediate. It could be, wow, this is really not going well. I need to pivot straight away. Whatever it is, you have to be ready to change the way that you're working quickly. So it could be that maybe the typical way that you've been doing something isn't quite working exactly the same. Make a note right now if you're thinking of something specific so you don't forget. Okay, so I know that that's not working. Sending, I don't know, whatever isn't working, or calling or text, whatever, it's not working. How can I pivot? What would the opposite thing be? What would my heart-based self do? These are good questions to ask. You share information generously. These are potential answers for the pivot. You share information generously or more generously. Archive your videos. Send them out to certain people who need them. Maybe you taught a great class and that one person who really needed to be there wasn't actually there. Send it to them in a beautiful note. You calendar well. Calendaring is a verb, as most of us know. You do not overpack your day. You've heard this so many times. This is so important. Heart-based leadership does not look like me going from appointment to appointment to appointment to appointment. It looks like me going from appointment to a little rest, a little walk outside, another appointment, a little lunch. You regenerate yourself all the time. Because if you're doing that, as we said in the previous slide, you will always have a connection to your vision, to your intuition. So what are you doing to regenerate yourself today? Is it a 5-minute walk? Are you going to spend 5 minutes lying down on the floor, right where you are with your hand on your heart, just breathing? What is it? Next slide, please. You express your humanness. You prioritize honoring people, respecting people. You release what is no longer needed. Stephanie had a great point. That person might not work out. So what's the language that person needs to hear in order to relinquish or be relieved? She might like relinquishing her position. She might rather hear, would you like to be relieved of your position? You actively practice patience. If this business has taught me anything, it's that. And you use some sort of tool. Deb Erickson teaches neuro tools. I love meditation, but you're constantly clearing the palette of your mind. Have you noticed that this has been in 3 slides already? What can you do today to clear the palette of your mind? Just the same way you would in a meal. Okay. I do not want any of us to linger in places where doubt lives, where fear lives. Heart-based leadership is trusting yourself 100% and moving forward as a visionary, as a luminary, as a guide for people. You are that. Next slide, please. I asked a few of my leaders to speak a little bit about what I'm doing well. We're all quite close. We don't have any drama on our team. It's going pretty well. It's been about 7 or 8 years, I think, this year. You invite your leaders to lead. What I discovered in asking them what I'm doing right is this quote: whenever I share something, this is what one of my leaders said, whenever I share something that I'm doing or something that I've learned with Elena, she almost always asks me to teach or educate on a team call on the subject. Do that. You don't have to be the main event. In fact, it's better if I'm not. It's better if I am planning for my obsolescence and my leaders, qualifiers or not, are ready to go at the drop of a hat. They're ready to rise. And I call on them all the time. Next slide, please. You're willing to shift protocols month to month. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. What needs to change? Honest. Be honest. This is not working anymore with this particular leg or these particular humans. What needs to change? Okay. Constantly inviting leaders of various ranks to share. Inviting an elite to share on a team call is valuable. Those are the people who know exactly what's needed for you to be the rank that you are. And for them to teach is a real blessing. And you celebrate every single win. Earlier today, I forget who said it. I'm sad that I forget, but somebody said I learned how to congratulate myself. And I was like, that is the prayer right there. That's everything. Every single little win. I made my lunch today. I remembered to pour my water before this call. These are wins, peeps. Wins. Celebrate every single one. Next slide, please. How our team leads from the heart. These are from the notes that I took from my team. We see each member of our team as unique individuals. We cherish our differences. This business is a celebration of uniqueness, if nothing else. We are valued and we value others. We are guided by our own inner compass. We chart our own route, each of us. We are inspired. We inspire one another daily, both in and outside of our work together. I constantly link people up on my team who are on different legs. And I say, you two, you need to be friends. You hang out. I do it with my cross team sisters all the time. Avesa, Katie, I love you people. I miss you. We engage in personal growth. At the very beginning, I remember Marcy, my enroller, saying this. She was like, so what have you done for yourself today? And I'd be like, it's not about that. I want to just do the business. And what I've learned is actually that is the best way for me to get the ideas, the big ideas of how to be in touch with somebody or how to reach out to somebody else or build the bravery in order to reach out to this other person. Read, study, I practice, I read, I study, I practice, I rest. We have the time. If you listen to Regan's talk, you know, there are so many blessings doing this business. And if you play your cards right, you have plenty of time. Most of the days, especially in the first 2 weeks of the month, to take really immaculate care of yourself. One of my people said that when Elena leads with heart-centered practices, it trickles into her heart, she said, and that of her community. So beautiful. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'd love to take some questions if I may. I'm sure there are many, and I've seen the chat go crazy, but I haven't been able to look. Yes, Sandra, thank you. Jessica, great, wonderful, good for you. Daniela, yes, I would just agree with all of this. Relinquish or be relieved of your position. Permission to slow down. I did just say obsolescence. I don't see any more questions. Katie is asking, can you say more about how to navigate a conversation with a leader who's gone silent and isn't building from that heart-centered place? Yes. Ask her. I would literally ask somebody, what gift, what restaurant, what thing would make you just tickled right now? I would like to give you something to thank you for your presence here on my team. I feel very happy and lucky to be working with doTERRA. You have been a part of that for a long time. I would like to gift you something that has meaning to you. May I? And send something. We certainly make plenty of money. Send something beautiful. Open the dialogue. Ask her what you could be doing better. And incidentally, off topic and not. You can ask that of all your team, and you can certainly ask that of your children every night at bedtime. What could I be doing better today? What could I have done better today? You will get every answer that you need.
Elena, thank you so much. I bet that we could be here with you for hours all day, right? Asking you questions and trying to get every single answer that I know that is right in there. But because of time, we do have to move on. But one of the things that I do want to let you know or tell you is, one, thank you from everyone. I bet we'll feel the same way. Like, thank you so much for your wisdom, for the knowledge that you've shared with us. And two, one of the things that you said at the end is something that I'm definitely going to practice from now on, which is asking my kids. I have a set of twins, And every single day, my wife and I, we always wonder what's something that we could be doing better, right? There's not a book that says this is how you are supposed to parent. This is what you're supposed to do, A through Z essentially. But what better way than asking them, right? What's something that you like to see me do better? So it's something that I'm going to practice. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us. And now, last but not least, we have Rebecca Hensey with us. Rebecca, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here with us. Again, because we are tight on time, the time is yours.
All right. Well, first of all, Elena, thank you so much for that. Wow, what a beautiful presentation, and just a chance to feel that sense of groundedness that we all felt as she spoke. Wise, wise words from my friend Elena Brower. So thank you. Well, I get the fun topic of talking about unlocking the code to rank advancing. And I feel like this is a topic that maybe one of those topics that you're thinking, this is the one thing I need to walk away from this leadership meeting with, because how many of us at doTERRA have sat looking for and paying for and trying to find the secret sauce to rank advancement, and we're all wanting it and we're willing to pay for it if someone will just tell us that way that we can just unlock that code. And hopefully some of the thoughts in today's presentation will support you down that path. So let's dive in and take a look. I guess I just need to tell you to change the slide. Is that how it goes? So just, yeah. All right. Well, first of all, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rebecca Hensey. My husband, Shane, and I have been involved with doTERRA since the company began in 2008. We didn't plan to build a doTERRA business like many of you, but we did, and it's been an incredible journey as we have grown and unlocked the code of our own rank advancement as we've moved throughout doTERRA. One thing I do want to tell you a little bit about me as we go into this presentation is I've worked in the field of mental health for 25 to 30 years, if we take into the account that my time in education in that field. And one of the things that I do and that I love is to coach people on how to coach. And so in this particular presentation, I want you to be willing, if you don't mind, to be coached for a minute. And coached kind of at a deep level. Elena just totally set you up for that energetically, by the way. So I love her energy coming into this. So let's go ahead and change the slide, if you don't mind. As we dive into thinking about being coached to rank advance, I want to remind you that my journey begins with me. Your journey begins with you. We are not victims to our circumstance, although it feels so much like that, especially over this last year where we have been locked in homes and sort of stuck and feeling for many of us like we don't have control over our own lives. And that does lead this to sort of this victim mentality. But I want to remind you that if you're a victim, you lose power. And so we never want to get into that. We always want to come back to ourselves and say, my journey starts with me. And this is always why we come inward to do any kind of coaching for ourselves. We really want to take full responsibility. So let's change the slide. So grab a piece of paper if you don't have one, because I am going to ask you some questions. These are your personal questions. And we're going to dive in. But first, I'm going to tell you my story. So go ahead and flip the slide one more time. If you can, change the slide. Before we go into my story, I want you to look at some of the logistics of building your doTERRA business. And this is the secret sauce, by the way, when we look for and pay for and study and come to conferences and we're wanting to hear that one presentation that's going to tell us exactly what we need to do to launch our business. The physical strategy and logistics are pretty similar. And they all involve some kind of a strategy. So my husband and I are looking at building a new home on a piece of property that we own. We are not going to start building that house by just throwing wood up on a piece of property. We are actually going to go into that building process with a plan, with very clear building plans, or we will never build a house. So this is the same for your doTERRA business. You have to have a success strategy. And you know, if you're rank advancing from diamond to blue, because this is the diamond breakout. So I'm assuming we're wanting to rank advance to blue. You know the math, but this could apply to any rank. So for blue, you've got to have 5 golds. You know, 5 golds have 3 premiers. 3 premiers have 5,000 organizational volume. You do the math. You've got to have timing involved in all of that. Are your leaders there? Are they ready to work? Is the team ready to move? Most leaders set up a 90-day strategy and they wash, rinse, and repeat, a simple strategy. A lot of this is in your in the success system, in the empowered success system. So let's change the slide. There are action items that we all do, and this is really it. See, these are the things that we work with in a strategy. So we're sampling, we're doing intro classes, we're doing wellness consults, we're doing continuing ed. We're doing strategy sessions. We're recruiting and launching new builders, and we have community building activities on a regular basis, which include challenges, gatherings, giveaways, gifts, cards, hugs, all the love, the service. So a lot of things that you've already heard about from the diamonds you've already shared. These are activities that leaders who move up in rank do. So you know you've got to have this strategy in place and you've got to do these things. So these are the physical things that we do to rank advance. And honestly, again, if you were to take any kind of a course or pay somebody, it's going to come down to these particular action items. And so it's good to ask yourself, are these things working? Let's change the slide. But it's often not that easy. And so I'm going to talk about the elephant in the living room, which is we often know exactly what we should do, but we don't do it. Or we look at this list and we know we need to be getting these things done, but there's some reason why we just never get it done. It's sort of like that diet you start every year, and you're looking every year for a new diet or a new program or a new coach or a new gym or something, and you just wash, rinse, repeat this bad habit that you've gotten yourself into of not being able to implement a diet plan for yourself. So same thing happens at doTERRA, where the recipe honestly doesn't change. It's still the same things. It's us. Remember, it begins here. So I just want to tell you my personal story. When we rank advanced to presidential diamond, we have been blue for a really long time. And I remember one morning being very frustrated, and I don't know if any of you felt like this, where I thought, I have been pushing for this rank for so long, and I just wanted to hit my head against the wall in frustration. And I climbed in the shower and I thought, gosh, you have spent all these years coaching, you know how to do this. Why are you stuck? Because my journey begins with me. And so I went through a process of asking myself some questions. So I used statements, and many of you look at them as like statements of affirmation. So I use statements as though they have already happened, the things that I wanted to have happen in my life when it came to my business. I said them as statements as though they'd already happened, even though they hadn't happened. Now, when we do this, and this is your little coaching tip here, when we make these kinds of statements, our body loves to be right. Our subconscious mind, our brain loves to kick back, and it likes to be right. And so it starts to argue with you. Have any of you had this happen before, where you make an affirmation statement like, life flows easily and effortlessly for me, and then suddenly you hear your brain kicking back all this feedback like, no, you're a liar, right? I see in the chat, like, that's not true. And so that is because our brain loves to be right. And our subconscious loves to validate all the reasons why that's not the truth, and this isn't honest, and this isn't right. And so we get this feedback. So what I did that day is I said to myself, why am I a presidential diamond at doTERRA? Well, I wasn't. I was hitting my head up against the wall trying to be presidential, but I wasn't. But I said, Why am I a presidential diamond at doTERRA? Now, by phrasing that in a question form, my body gets super excited, because that's the other thing about the brain. It loves to answer questions. Ask yourself a question, your brain loves to go looking for an answer. So as soon as I said that in a question form, my body started kicking up all the ways in which I was double-minded. And that is, part of me wasn't really interested in being presidential. And I had to look at how my journey was beginning with me. I heard myself say, I didn't want to be presidential diamond because it was going to be too much work. I heard myself say, you're not supposed to be out in front. You're supposed to be just behind everyone else, but you're not really allowed to be the one right up, on the top. And I had to look at where that conversation was coming from. Now, my feedback is different than your feedback, because my programming is different than your programming. But I want to invite you to go through the exercise. So let's change the slide. And I would love for you to ask yourself some of the same kinds of questions. Now, I put blue diamond on this slide because most of you are diamonds. I assumed going to blue diamond, but this could be a stable diamond, or a presidential diamond, or whatever you're shooting for, a U.S. founder, or a winner of Diamond Club. You could say, why am I a U.S. founding leader? And hear yourself give you the feedback. Now, I don't mean for this exercise to send you into a year of therapy. Promise, I don't, because I have a process that we're going to go through. This is why step 1, 2, 3. I'm just giving you 3 steps that are super simple that you can use to work with this so that you can shift through it. Now, if you hear yourself giving you feedback that's positive, great. Just go back to my first few slides and implement all that information, and I'll show them to you again here. But if you hear that disconnect, that double-mindedness, then you're going to know that there's an issue. So ask yourself, why are you a solid whatever? Ask yourself why your leaders are solid, fill in the blank. And ask yourself why your team is rapidly duplicating and thriving. And hear the conversation come back. You might have issues with believing in your leaders, and this could come up in that conversation. Who knows what it will be? But my recommendation is you try it, because here's what happened to me. I did that exercise in the shower. I figured out what the blocks were. I talked myself through it. I made a shift. And that very month, I hit presidential diamond, that very month. So this is a powerful process to begin to understand how you were double-minded. So I'd love for you to flip this, go ahead and flip the slide. So here are just some, potentials for you. Family patterns. So I noticed that. I noticed it was kind of a family pattern for me. I kind of learned that story in my family that I needed to be kind of second, not first. And so I had to work with my mindset on that. It's just a story I told myself. I don't need to keep it. I can edit the story of my life. I'm allowed to do that. So are you. I give you full permission to edit the story of your past. So just change the messaging. Okay. Patterns with money. Are you allowed to make a lot of money?
Well, how are you? It's me calling you from my home number, because I'm doing a conference right now myself.
I think you got somebody who needs to get muted. Yeah. Okay. So look at your habits, your burnout. If you are burnout, you're not going to be attracting what you want, and you'll definitely be double-minded. Look at your beliefs around support and control issues in particular. What I find with leaders who are wanting to raise a team and to do what Elena just said, I mean, the way she described leadership, you've got to believe that you deserve to be supported and that you can attract leaders and who will provide that love and support. Can you sense the trust she had in her leaders? Trust is the opposite of control. So if you're controlling your leaders, they're going to naturally push back. Let's change the slide. So here's your changing opportunity. You get to rewrite the story. So are you willing to see things different? Are you willing to let go of the old behavior? What's the payoff if you keep things the same? We have this thing about us where the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know. So we're often just super happy to go back, wash, rinse, repeat our old stuff. So I'm going to invite you to not wash, rinse, repeat what doesn't work. I'm going to tell you the obvious. If part of you wants one thing, part of you wants something else, you've got to come together. That's step 1. And step 2 is the process of bringing your mindset together. And then be willing to put in the extra effort and be willing to be grateful and forgiving. Elena set the ground for that too. Gratitude is the way we come together. forgiving ourselves, forgiving our leaders, forgiving ourselves for the way we've done things in the past. It's a must do. This is not a perfectionism game. All people who succeed at anything, especially athletes, are willing to make changes, and they're willing to rewrite their behaviors that didn't work. I'm challenging you to rewrite yours. Step number 3, let's change the slide. And lastly, step number 3, can we change the slide? Are we there? Awesome. I want you to go ahead and train for your new rank. Let's do it. Something that you may, we talk a lot about strengths at doTERRA, and we do use strengths to perform. So it is so important to know your strengths and to hone in on those. And I'm a true believer of our strengths, but for performers, they also use their weaknesses to train. And many of you may not realize that your strengths are also your weaknesses. So we think sometimes our weaknesses are the bottom 5 in our strength finders, for example. Not true, actually. Our strengths our top 5, top 10 actually have a weakness attached to them. So my number 1 strength is strategy. But my weakness, if I go into the detailed report under strategy, it tells me that if I have too many strategies, it becomes a weakness. And I have done that with my team, where I have had so much strategy that I've overwhelmed them with strategy. And then my strength became my weakness. So know that it's not your bottom 5 necessarily. Those are just things those are just cards in the game you don't play very much, or your bottom 5, 10, but your top 10, top 15, you want to be very well aware of the weaknesses attached to the strength so that you're more prepared to train for your new rank. Okay, next slide, please. Hint, you've got to unlock the cooperation of your team members. And this is a lot of what Elena showed you too. Your human instinct is to push back when being pulled, and you don't want to run into that when you are a leader. So you don't want to get into that controlling space. You want to humbly give responsibility to your leaders and invite them to come in and create a vision for team happiness and success, and engage your community in motion by pulling in that energy that Elena just shared with you of that love, that connection, that trust that you want to have with your team. Next slide, please. Definitely must do's, duplicate and delegate. So whatever you set up, be sure you're doing that. And next slide. I want you to come back to the activities that I listed before. And you may even want to take a picture of this screen and just go back, and a little homework assignment tonight, go ahead and maybe journal out those questions that we've asked already and spend a bit more time on it, but also come back to this list and grade yourself on a scale from 1 to 5, and circle the items on this list where you're like a 1 or a 2, because honestly, if you're doing these things and you're single-minded and you've created the 90-day strategy, it's only a matter of time till you rank advance. It's just you implementing your strategy. Maybe you have to implement it twice, not a problem. Pretty common in business for people to have to do that. But if you can have all of this in one place, you will rank advance. Next slide, please. The last question and the end of this presentation is really just you asking yourself, are you willing to unlock the code to yourself and rank up? Because really your success is up to you. You can do it. Anyone can do it. But again, your story begins with you. So are you willing to have that moment like I had in the shower to say, let me see it. What is it? You know, am I ready to see the elephant in the living room, to make that pivotal shift, to change myself, to rewrite my story, and to leave this meeting, this conference, ranking up, because your success is up to you. I know you can do it, and I believe in you. All of you who are listening live, it's an honor to be able to speak and to share my thoughts with you today. And I just want to come behind you and say, you've got this. You can do it. You can rank up. It's all up to you. And with these tips and tools, I think you can really unlock the code to your rank advancement. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That was fantastic. Again, As we promised you in the beginning, every single one of our speakers throughout this breakout session was amazing. And what a way to close our session, right, Jake? It was just wonderful. Again, hopefully we had more time. Like, we wish that we had more time for all of you, for every single presenter, but it's not over yet. The day's not over. Leadership's still going. Exactly. So, Jake, what do we have next?
Yeah, so we have the opportunity now to jump into some table chats. That's what we're calling them. So really, if you go to the table chats and join, you'll have a chance to jump into virtual table groups of up to 8 people. Some of these tables have assigned people, like Juan and I will be at a table. You can come and find us if you'd like. You can go and find people like Simone possibly, or maybe even some of the founders or other key people in Healing Hands and Co-Impact Sourcing. A lot of people you can reach out to, or if you want to find an empty table and make a group of your own and make new friends, you're welcome to do that as well. So these table chats will be open till 5:30. Following the table chats from 5:30 to 7:00 p.m. tonight, we have recognition. So
yeah, it's going to be amazing. So just a reminder that this session, along with the other sessions, are being recorded. So you're going to be able to rewatch them. I know that we learned a lot of things. I know that we got a bunch of content, right? Yeah. Like important content that maybe you guys would like to go over. So again, these were all recorded and you're going to be able to rewatch them. Make sure that you use the table chats time as an opportunity to be able to network, right? Get to know other leaders, maybe leaders from this same session, like talk about things that you learned, things that maybe you didn't understand. It is a great opportunity, a great moment and time to network and get to know each other. So again, thank you everyone so much, and we will see you soon in the table chats.
I know there was one question about where to find the recording. So the recording will be made available for 1 week. So don't sit on this. If you want to go back and refresh on it, try to do that soon. And from what I'm hearing, the recording is going to be made available on the Brand Live website. And I believe if it's not already clear as to where that is online, that's going to be something that's announced.
Yeah, so it just through the same platform, right? Yeah. The same platform that you guys are using to watch Leadership Retreat, that's where it's going to be available to you guys, again, for 1 week. So if you need to rewatch it, you have 1 week to do so. So again, thank you guys so much for joining this session, and we'll see you soon.
See you on the
side. Ya.